What's up? Welcome into episode 1 of A Few Rows Up. My name's Preston. I'll be your host today. Appreciate you tuning in. I know if you're listening to this or watching this, it's probably because you know me, your family, your friend, or you just feel sorry for me. Either way, I appreciate you being here. If you could go ahead and like, rate, or review this podcast, that would be great. And a little caveat is I will be reading every review on the air. So little asterisk next to that, though, is that if it's a mean review, I'm going to have my 2-year-old niece read it. So maybe tread lightly. I don't want her to think that I'm a bum. But we got a good show for you today. Let's talk about what did not make the show. The Oakland A's being denied the trademark for the names Las Vegas Athletics or Vegas Athletics. Apparently the U.S. Patent Office or whatever said it was too generic. I think this is crazy because this is the same office that approved Paris Hilton trademarking the phrase "that's hot." Paris, if you're listening to this, I know you probably are. Please don't sue me. That's a great phrase. You can have it though. I just think it's crazy that they don't think that that's too generic, but they think that athletics is too generic. But that did not make the show, so we're not going to talk about it. We're also not going to talk about anything basketball related today. Look, this has been a wildly entertaining season so far for the NBA and for college basketball. I think any season that starts off with the Mafia as the headline is bound to have some fireworks. It looks like one of those fireworks have been that the Spurs have come out of nowhere. They beat OKC 3 times. OKC is 30-7, and 3 of their losses have been to the same team, which, by the way, the Spurs randomly lost to Memphis the other night. So it seems like anyone's game right now. It does seem like OKC has the upper hand, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about basketball. We got a lot of football to talk about. Lots of really good football happening this weekend with the Wildcard in the NFL and the college football playoff semifinal. So we're going to get into that next. This is A Few Rows Up. You know, I'm a little upset with myself that I decided to start doing this right at the end of the football season. I think football is my favorite sport. It's the NFL especially, I think, is the most complete and fair of any sports league. There's a lot of leagues, you know, the NBA, college football. I think there's a lot of controversy when it comes to deciding who's in, who's out, all that stuff. I think the NFL gets it right pretty much every time. I think any team who is in the playoffs deserves to be there. And the team that is barely not in the playoffs, I think everybody's like, yeah, they're probably not good enough to be there. It just works every season for me. I feel like the NFL playoffs always look very satisfying on paper, and all these matchups look good. I'm going to start with what I think is going to be the lamest matchup, if I'm being honest, and that's Rams at Panthers. I think the Rams have no reason to not be Super Bowl favorites. They have the experience, they have the playmaking, they're healthy, and I think Matthew Stafford, he's had an MVP caliber year. He's probably not going to win it, but he deserves it just as much as anybody. And the Panthers, I know they played the Rams earlier this year at Carolina, and they came out on top. I don't see that happening again. I think it's very difficult to beat a team twice in one season, especially if you're the underdogs and when Sean McVay is the other coach. So for that, I have the Rams beating the Panthers. I think it's going to be at least a 2-score game in that one. Another rematch that we have is the Packers and Bears. This is a really interesting one because they've played twice in the regular season and both won their meetings at home. So Packers won at Green Bay, Bears won at Chicago, and both were very close games. One of them went into overtime. The thing is, both of these teams are fairly banged up. Micah Parsons being out is catastrophic for that defense. I think, especially against Caleb Williams, if you give Caleb Williams any time in the pocket to throw, or if you just let him scramble, he's going to make you pay for that. I know that his receivers, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, are both banged up. They're both listed as questionable. I do expect them to play, but Caleb Williams seems to have developed an excellent connection with his tight ends. So I think that offense is going to be clicking. So I do have the Bears in that one. I do think it's going to be a close game, but I have the Bears pulling away on that one. The next one, the 49ers and Eagles. Obviously, you can tell I'm a 49ers fan. If you're watching it, I have 49ers stuff all over. I'm wearing a 49ers hoodie. This one, I think, is going to be a blowout, unfortunately. Maybe I'm being pessimistic. The Niners are down to their fourth string linebacker, and even he is listed as questionable. So there's a lot of holes in that defense. And I think the Eagles win this by at least 2 scores. I think Jalen Hurts, he's had a pretty down year, but he's going to have free eats in this one. He'll be able to smoke a hot dog in the pocket with the amount of time he's going to have to throw. Factor that in, again, like with the Rams, with experience and having those weapons on offense. I know they haven't been clicking this year, which is weird, but I think they're going to have their way with this one, unfortunately. I've been a Niners fan for a very long time, since I was like 10, maybe. Before that, I actually was an Eagles fan, if some of you might remember that. I have a Michael Vick jersey right next to me. But that Super Bowl where the 49ers lost to the Chiefs a few years ago, the second time, that was maybe the most devastated I've ever been in my entire life. I might have to fact check that with my brain and with my memories, but after that game, I felt nothing. I went into the bathroom and I sat there for like an hour, and I might have shed a tear. And this was like, I was like 24, 23. I'm like a grown man, and I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I wasn't even doing anything in the bathroom. I just sat on the floor, which is kind of gross. But it hit me in a way that I've never felt before. They were just so good that season, and I thought that was their chance. But you know what it did to me? It made me take a hiatus from the 49ers for like a year. Last season, I did not care. I did not follow them because I saw what happens when I follow a team too closely and I get too hyped about it and it doesn't go the way that I want it to. I get very sad, and maybe my life is going pretty well when that is what makes me super sad. But it did a number on me. So I kind of lost a ton of interest in the 49ers. This season has been more fun and it's been more chill, and I don't have any expectations for them. So I feel comfortable saying that the Eagles are going to blow them out, and that is that. I mentioned how Jalen Hurts is going to have a ton of time in the pocket. I think that's going to be the opposite for Justin Herbert with the Chargers against the Patriots. Justin Herbert has been sacked 54 times this season. Only Geno Smith and Cam Ward have been sacked more. Both been sacked 55 times, and they're both on maybe the 2 worst teams in the entire NFL. So it's kind of a miracle that the Chargers are where they're at. But what's actually interesting is that the 4th most sacked quarterback in the entire NFL is the other quarterback in this game, Drake May, future MVP of this season. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a good game. I think when you have 2 solid quarterbacks and 2 solid defenses, it just makes for a good game. I hope that both quarterbacks can stay composed, and I hope that if like the Chargers go down by 10, that it doesn't just unravel for them. Like I said, I think it's going to be a good game. And then with Houston against Pittsburgh, my mind keeps telling me that this is also going to be a blowout in favor of Houston. I I didn't watch them too much this season, but I watched their game against the Bills, and Josh Allen was just in a trap the entire game. Houston had Josh Allen running for his life. He threw a couple picks. It just seemed like that Houston defense is elite. The X factor, of course, is Aaron Rodgers, but I think that if the Houston Texans can keep Josh Allen in check, they can probably keep Aaron Rodgers in check, and I think they're going to tee off on the 42-year-old a couple of times at least. So I have Houston winning that one. I think it's going to be comfortable, but I do think that they will ultimately pull it off. Speaking of Josh Allen, this is maybe the most intriguing matchup for me this playoffs, with the Bills against Jacksonville. And the reason I say that is because the Bills defense has not been good this year, and the Jaguars have a kicker in Cam Little who all you have to do to get him in the field goal range is reach the 50-yard line. Oh, it's such an interesting game. I think Josh Allen's going to have to be heroic in this one. The thing about Josh Allen is I think it does come to a point where somebody can want something too much. And I'll tell you a story. So when I was in high school, I took the ACT 3 times and I got the same score every time. And I looked up averages of getting into BYU. Where my ACT was at was just not going to cut it, apparently. So again, 3 times, same score. And I decided I'm going to invest in a course that will get me to where I want to go, So I paid $500 to take this course during the summer, this ACT class online, and took a bunch of practice tests. I, was doing well. I thought it was working. I felt my brain getting smarter with how to take tests. I'm just such a bad test taker. And I go in to take it a 4th time after this class, and I got the exact same score that I got the first 3 tries. And it was a bummer, but I just thought, well, I guess this is just what I am. If colleges can accept that, then that's just what it's going to be. Hopefully they look at some other stuff. And my senior year is coming to an end, and I realize that I have one more chance to take the ACT for a 5th time. And it was like right before I was supposed to turn in any applications. And I didn't even really know this was even going to happen. I just saw, there's another ACT happening this weekend. I guess I'll go, And I didn't study. I didn't prepare. I didn't do anything. And I got a better score. So I say that because I think Josh Allen, I think this is a great window of opportunity for him. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Lamar Jackson. I guess we can just say that he is going to have to face either Drake May or Bo Nix. There's still really good quarterbacks that he has to go through and good defenses. So it's still going to be tough for him. My only thing is maybe he wants it a little too much. And I say that just because when I watch him play, I see him scramble, and we see him make magical plays when he does this, and he scrambles for like 50 yards going back and forth, and then making a pass that goes for like 20 or something. Even if it goes for 5, it's still like, whoa, Josh Allen, look what he did. But sometimes, and I saw this in the Cleveland game, where he scrambles and he wants it so bad and keeps going, and then he gets sacked for a 20-yard loss. So it just, with Josh Allen, I do think he is the best quarterback in the NFL, but this is a week-by-week league now, and you can't make those mistakes against the Jaguars. So I honestly, if I had to lean anyway in this game, I'd probably lean towards Jacksonville. I want the Bills. I want to see Josh Allen go far in these playoffs, but I just I worry a little bit about that. We're going to move on to college football playoff. Our first matchup is Miami versus Ole Miss. These two teams haven't played since 1951. That's crazy to me. They're both like in the South, right? They're pretty close to each other. I guess that just goes to show how important teams want to, or they have to play in their own conferences, and it just doesn't make sense for Miami and Ole Miss to play. But I'm still like 75 years, right? Am I getting that math right? 75 years they haven't played? That's crazy to me. Miami is a really interesting story right now. They're extremely well coached. It seems like everybody has rallied around Cristobal, and those pass rushers are monsters. They're insane. And watching them just bulldoze the Ohio State offensive line was a wake-up call for, I think, the entire college football hemisphere. And I guess putting teams on notice when you're down to the Final Four probably puts you in good position to win the whole thing. I don't see any reason why Miami can't win the whole thing. They have an experienced quarterback who's been in this situation before. They have very bright, young talent at the receiver position. They have an elite defense, and I think they're gonna have a chance in this one. The thing that is crazy about Ole Miss is pass rushers are gonna be chasing around a pretty good dual threat quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss. He's been excellent. And what's really impressive is you see dual threat quarterbacks that are really good, but they turn the ball over. You know, I think that's one thing about these athletic quarterbacks is sometimes they just put the ball in harm's way. And when you're that aggressive on the ground, when you see opportunity to take off and do all that stuff, you also can be a little too aggressive through the air. The thing about with Trinidad is that he only has 3 interceptions this season. So that's really impressive. And I think I'm going to probably have to lean towards Ole Miss in this game just because that last game against Georgia was very impressive. Obviously, Miami was also very impressive. These two teams are here for a reason. And I'm going to go with Ole Miss in this one. Indiana versus Oregon is going to be an interesting matchup. Oregon's defense, I did not see that coming against Texas Tech. Texas Tech, by the way, averaged 40 points a game this season before posting a goose egg in the Orange Bowl against Oregon. So that makes me a little sad because I do think Texas Tech has been very good all year, obviously winning the Big 12. I wanted them to be better because I wanted people to see that the Big 12 is not bad. But that was a little disheartening to watch that. And then you look on the other side, it's also just very impressive by Oregon to not let Baron Morton do what he wanted to do, not let those receivers get open. The pass rush was getting there. It was, Texas Tech, that's obviously the most uncomfortable that they've looked all season. And Oregon was just lights out. I know Indiana has a Heisman quarterback and a 1,000-yard rusher in Roman Hemby, but I would not be shocked if Oregon wins this game. The thing is with Indiana, there's nothing to dislike about them. There's no reason for them to lose. They haven't lost a game. They're the number 1 team. They have a Heisman quarterback. They have an elite defense. They've played Oregon already at Oregon, and they won 30-20. And they're also just kind of clicking at the right time. I mean, they've been clicking all season, but it seems like they're just getting better. I will say this. If this is a close game, I think Oregon can pull this off. I think if it's a close game. The thing is, Indiana, they've shown that they can just blow teams out right away. And because I don't see any flaws in their game. I think Indiana wins this one, and I think it's going to be Indiana and Ole Miss in the championship. So that's the show for today. Please like, rate, and review. Again, I will read the review on the air, and share with a friend. You can find the show on Instagram and TikTok at A Few Rows Up. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoy some good football this weekend. And remember to be the voice that settles and not the voice that shatters. And I will see you next time.